This is chapter number 9, the making of regional cultures. Regional cultures. So this is chapter number 9 and making of regional cultures. So before we go ahead, we are talking about 8th and 18th century, between 8th and 18th century. So there are certain periods which we need to understand because there are different centuries which are being talked about. So we need to understand that whenever I say this century, which century we are in, under which empire we are. So 8 to 1200 or 800 to 1200, it was pre-medieval era. 1200 to 1526, 27, it was Delhi Sultan. And 1526, 27 to 1707, it was Mughal Empire. So these are the landmarks which you need to understand. So let me tell you, let me ask you a question. So a person will come and he says you, "Oh Paji, ki haal hai tuada?" What will come into your mind? This person is a Punjabi. Maybe he belongs to Punjab, some city in Punjab, and the dress he may be wearing somewhat related to Punjabi culture, or the music he might be listening to is Punjabi music. So you are actually relating him to certain place. So this place, by subconsciously comes into your mind. So whenever some person, some community, some group, you want to understand them or they are being understood by being Tamil, you'll say, oh, he is from Tamil Nadu. Someone is speaking Odishi, you'll say from Odisha he is. So Tamil Nadu, Odisha, you have marked the areas in your mind. Along with this, the different attributes, characteristics of this region. That is, what is the food they eat, what clothes they wear. Sardarji or Sikh, they generally have a pagadi, and then poetry, whatever they have been writing or they have been listening to. Dancing, Punjabis may dance Bhangra. And what are the music? Some, Hani Singh or Sandhu. Then we have painting, what kind of painting they are making or they used to make. So all these are the distinctive features, something very different from others. So whatever you have lived, Paji Kwal hai tuada, you knew that he has a distinctive, very special, or he has a culture. He has a special culture, regional culture. So it has taken years. These cultures have developed. Now you are in such a position that you can identify this regional culture. But this has not come in just one day. And all these cultures, they all are mixed. They all are being influenced from one another. So the regional cultures which are developed is not just one place. It has not interacted with any other culture. So there are certain cultures are only confined to one region. Oh, the Tamil Nadu will not have say chola bhatura, but you will find dosa and idli in Punjab for sure, Tamil Nadu's. So there are certain cultures which are going from here and there and changing their true value. That is a culture coming from one place going to another, and the culture is entirely changed, or it has taken a new shape, or two cultures, different place, may have the same meaning. They are still kept in the same way. So these cultures have different kind of flavors. This culture, Sanskriti, what all defines us, what all make us. So we will try to start with a language, Malayalam. We'll talk about dance also, all these things. So Chera, I'm talking, Cheras. So when the Cheras were there were Cholas and Pandyas in the southern India part. Peninsula basically, Pradeep. So this is the region we are talking about. This is Chera region. This is Chola region, and this is the Pandya region. Chera, Chola, Pandya. Pandya, if you remember, Madurai was the capital. So today's Kerala was almost with the Chera. It was the Chera, and actually right now if you see Kerala is the best state of India. So when we talk about Kerala, you will be thinking about Mammootty, the superstar there, right? Malayalam also, Malayalam good movies. So this Malayalam, how this language has come, how this language has developed under say Cheras or different dynasties, what shape it has taken. So whenever I am talking about this Cheras, I am taking a place, Mahodaipuram. This is a proper place, kingdom. Mahodaipuram. So the Chera kingdom of this Mahodaipuram, this is a place. And it was created or established in which century? In 9th century. Which century? Between 800 and 900. So 9th century, and where this is in the southern western part of peninsula. Peninsula is what? The land which has three side water. This is peninsula. So this peninsula, it is being said southwestern part. Southwestern part. So south is this, west is left. So this is the part. Actually we are talking about Kerala only, or Kerala or nearby areas. So the present day Kerala, this and at that time also Chera kingdom, when Malayalam was spoken in this area, not that Malayalam which we know now, but a Malayalam language was spoken at that time. Okay. So Malayalam language has a very special thing, palindrome. If you read from the back, it will still be Malayalam. So this Malayalam language, the rulers of this Chera rulers, they used this Malayalam language as official language. That is, this whatever orders they want to give. First, let me tell you what does it mean when we have a language as a script. Because there are language which are spoken, there are language which are just spoken, but there are language which are spoken and they can be written also. So there are certain languages that can only be spoken, not being written. They don't have their lipi, they don't have their script. So Malayalam was the language which was spoken also and which has its own script also, so that it can be written. So the Chera rulers, what they did, they were using it for the official purpose. They were inscripting it, abhilekh, writing it on the stone or wood, their orders and everything for their praja, for their regime. They were using this Malayalam language to provide the information, orders, etc. And the regional language, this is the first language, Malayalam language, used as an official language by Cheras, and this was one of the first languages which was used as official language by Cheras or by any kingdom in the subcontinent. Okay. So this was the most important thing about this, that this Malayalam was used by a certain kingdom people as an official language. So you can understand the importance of this Malayalam language, and that is how we know Malayalam now. So this is an inscription, example of inscription. This is a picture. This is an early Kerala inscription which is composed in Malayalam. There is some changes in Malayalam which we know now. So it's somewhat different. Now Cheras did what? They took mostly from all languages, basically from Sanskritic traditions. So they were influenced. They took various things from Sanskritic traditions. How do we know this? The temple theatre. Because in a theatre, there are theatres in a temple, and people used to, or the performers used to show these stories. They used to show these stories, and they were borrowed from these Sanskrit epics, Sanskrit Mahakavya. Okay? Taken from Sanskrit epics, the Sanskrit epics, Sanskrit Mahakavya. And temple were very important at that time. Center of all the political, religious and economical center the temple would be at that time. So the presentation of this Sanskrit epics, it emphasized that how much Sanskritic tradition was taken up by Cheras and also Malayalam. So this Chera era, Sanskrit was, they were indebted to Sanskrit. So if I take you to 14th century, there was a grammar and a poetics book which was written, kind of a shastra, Kavya Shastra and grammar. A book was written, for example. Just remember as a book. The name was Leela Tilakam. The book was Leela Tilakam. This Leela Tilakam was written in 14th century. It was dealing with grammars and poetics, and it was composed in what? It was composed in Mani Pravalam. Mani Pravalam. And Mani Pravalam literally means what? Two things. Sanskrit and regional language. So it was an analogy with diamonds and corals. So Mani Pravalam, Mani is diamond, or diamond and corals is Munga. So diamonds and corals, and this has an analogy with two different language. Diamonds means say Sanskrit and corals means say regional language. So a combination of this script or the content of Sanskrit and regional language, they combined, and that combined structure is called as Mani Pravalam, that is the grammar and everything. And in this, Leela Tilakam was written. Leela Tilakam was written in Mani Pravalam, which has the content of Sanskrit and regional languages. So Malayalam literature has influence of Tamil and Sanskrit, and in Mani Pravalam, Leela Tilakam was being written. Okay. So we just talked about Chera, how this language developed in Chera dynasty. So now we are talking about Jagannath cult, Jagannath Puri, Jagannath, Baba Jagannath, Bhagwan Jagannath. This is one of the dhams. People used to pilgrimage, go for pilgrimage. So let me show you the place. This is the Odisha state right now. This is Bhubaneswar, the capital. And if you go ahead, it's in the seashore or near sea is Puri, Jagannath Puri. This is the area we are talking about. Now, why are we talking about this Jagannath Puri? Because the time which we are talking about, there were temple towns. That is, those towns, the basic center of all the activities were temples. People are there, economic activities going on there, the king is there, everything is going on from the temple only. So when we talk about Jagannath, so Jagannath Puri actually we call it now. So what is this Jagannath? Jagannath is Jag Ka Nath, Lord of the world. Jag means world, Nath means Swami, the Lord. So Lord of the world. This literally means Lord of the world. Jagannath. So whole world Lord was called as Jagannath, and it was previously this Jagannath was a local god, but at that time Vishnu, Shiva and Durga Mata was the main god and goddesses, three. So ultimately this local god Jagannath was regarded as the incarnation of Lord Vishnu. This deity was a local god, and this Puri Ilaka, Puri area, this Jagannath was there only, situated to local area. But finally it was supposed that he is, the Jagannath god is a Vishnu's incarnation. Like Ram Bhagwan, Krishna Bhagwan, all are incarnations of the Vishnu Bhagwan. So the local tribal, the Janjati, the local tribal of that area, they would make the wooden image of this deity of Jagannath. So please remember, not of stone but of wood. Wherever you will see the Bhagwan or god and goddesses in stone. But here they were being made cast. Cast means wood, lakdi. So this is how the thing started. Tribal people were making it. They are also the worshippers, and finally it was identified as incarnation of Vishnu. So this is the mandir, this is the temple I am talking about. And who made it? Raja Anantavarman of Ganga dynasty. So in 12th century there was a Ganga dynasty in this region, Ganga Rajvansh, and there was one very powerful and known king, and the name is Anantavarman. So this Anantavarman, he said, okay, Jagannath was very famous god, so he made a very big and majestic temple. Still, it is one of the best temples which we see today, right? After that, 1230. In 1230, King Ananga Bhima. This is King Ananga Bhima III. He is King Ananga Bhima III. So Ananga Bhima Deva III. So I am talking about 13th century. So 1230 actually, 13th century only. King Ananga Bhima, he dedicated his kingdom to the deity, to Jagannath, Bhagwan Jagannath. He dedicated all his kingdom to Bhagwan Jagannath. And he also said, Ghoshana, proclaimed that I am the deputy. Let us give you an example, CM, deputy CM. So if CM is not there, he is ill or he has gone somewhere, who is taking care of CM? Deputy CM, deputy chief minister. Similarly, here he by himself regarded or proclaimed himself as the deputy of the god. Now what happened? By the course of the time, this temple got so much recognition, and people would come here, and the pilgrims would come here. So whenever the temple becomes famous, people start coming here. Even if you make a small shrine or put a stone, people would come and start worshipping it. Even a stone if you put, or a mazar, everyone will come and they will worship, because people have emotions, people have love for their god. So this was a big thing. Jagannath Puri was a big thing. So it became gradually as a pilgrimage place. People used to come for pilgrimage here. So those who are very devoted to the god, especially to the Lord Vishnu, Ram and Krishna, they would come here. So when they come here, they will donate. All the economic and all the the GDP etc. of this particular area will increase. So now this mandir or temple will become powerful. Socially, politically, all the matters will be in the hand of this mandir or the temple. So when we talk about Odisha, it is presently Odisha. It is not Orissa. Right now the name has changed, Odisha. So whoever has conquered this Odisha, Jagannath Puri, may it be Marathas, Mughals or East India Company even, they all wanted to gain control or to have a niyantran on this temple. They wanted the control because everyone was knowing that if we have to get the hold of local people, if our rule has to be acceptable to these local people, we need to have control on this Jagannath Puri temple. So now we'll talk about the Rajput and traditions and heroism. Rajput. Let us take this in the next discussion, okay? Till then, thank you so much. Take care of yourself.